let me explain something to you, because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Mm-hmm. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it.
Being woke is like a magic moral time machine where you judge everybody against what you imagine you would have done in 1066, and you always win.
Bill Maher didn't hold anything back when he called out Whoopi Goldberg, catching her completely off guard. After years of hearing controversial remarks from her on The View, he finally decided to respond. There was no gentle introduction. He challenged her directly with a sharp and uncompromising critique. Before we continue, if you enjoy quick commentary videos with clear, in-depth analysis, take a moment to subscribe. Now, let's get into what happened.
The capacity for cruelty is a human thing, not a white thing. That's the truth, even though it doesn't jibe with the current narrative. But in today's world, when truth conflicts with narrative, it's the truth that has to apologize. Being woke is like a magic moral time machine where you judge everybody against what you imagine you would have done in 1066, and you always win.
This perfectly captures what many critics see as the problem with modern identity politics. They argue it reduces every issue to race, ignores historical complexity, and assumes one group has the sole authority to judge everyone else. According to Maher's perspective, once politics becomes more about performing moral superiority than solving real problems, it turns into political theater instead of meaningful debate.
About Whoopi Goldberg, because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, "Oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma." First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no thing as karma. Okay, get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis.
Then came the point many viewers had been waiting for. From Maher's perspective, he wasn't the one who started the conflict. He believes Whoopi had criticized him for years over his views on COVID, his criticism of progressive politics, and his refusal to follow the typical daytime talk show narrative. In his view, when someone repeatedly attacks your opinions with arguments you strongly disagree with, the best response isn't staying silent, it's speaking openly. Supporters argue that's why Maher continues to earn trust from people across the political spectrum. He says what he believes and doesn't shy away from the backlash.
Interesting that it's called, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
There
is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
Maher then argued that the show's title no longer reflects what it actually delivers. He said a program meant to feature different voices and genuine discussion has, in the eyes of many critics, become a place where one dominant viewpoint leads the conversation while opposing opinions are quickly dismissed. From Maher's perspective, that's part of a larger problem within modern liberal politics. Open debate is being replaced by a single accepted narrative, leaving little room for disagreement.
2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
People.
It is not even the same. I couldn't step foot wearing this outfit.
That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto.
I'm sorry.
I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you, that's why I am saying that it is the same. Someone for their difference is not good, whoever does.
Very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not everybody. Not everybody.
Do not anyone at the table.
Let me tell you about being in this country. This is the greatest country in the world. But yeah, I know that. But every day we are worried. Do we have to be worried about our kids? Are our kids going to get shot because they're running through somebody's neighborhood? They are not big deals. And I don't mean to say they're not big deals to you, because that's not what I...
The moment that sparked the biggest reaction came when Whoopi suggested that life in America in 2025 was comparable to life in Iran. Many critics called the comparison deeply offensive, especially since co-host Alyssa Farah Griffin responded by pointing to well-documented facts. facts. Since 2022, Iran's morality police have detained thousands of women over hijab enforcement, and the death of Mahsa Amini after being taken into custody drew worldwide condemnation. Critics argued that comparing those conditions to the experience of a wealthy daytime television host living freely in the United States ignored the reality faced by many women in Iran.
That we got the vote in 1965.
Okay, they don't have free and fair elections in Iran. It's not even the same universe.
They can't go out of their house. Women.
You know what? There's no way I can make you.
Whoopi's response was simply, "There's no way I can make you understand." Critics argued that the remark reflected a broader pattern. When evidence fails to persuade, the conversation shifts to personal feelings, and disagreement is dismissed as a lack of understanding. From Maher's perspective, that approach replaces debate with moral certainty instead of addressing the facts. Iranian-American Dr. Sheila Nazarian, whose family experienced persecution under Iran's government, called the comparison deeply disrespectful to those who have lived through real oppression, saying it minimized the hardships faced by people who escaped the regime.
He said I was flippant and immoral for saying it's time to chuck the masks and get back to normal. Well, are 43 states here in America and the entire nations of England, Denmark, Sweden, and Finland flippant because they're saying the same thing now? COVID is so much more complicated than just, I'm for more safety than you are, therefore I'm a better person. But Whoopi is misinformed on many aspects of the COVID debate. After she got it recently, she said that being vaccinated, quote, doesn't stop Omicron, and that's the problem with the variant because it gets stronger. Actually, it usually gets weaker, as is the case with this one. But that's okay. She's allowed to be wrong.
Critics argue this follows a familiar pattern. They say Whoopi often makes a controversial claim, stands by it even after being challenged, and then criticizes those who question her. One example frequently cited is her comments during the COVID era, where opponents argued her statements about vaccines and the Omicron variant were inaccurate. Maher, despite facing heavy criticism for questioning parts of the official narrative, maintained that public discussions should be grounded in evidence rather than certainty. Critics say that's the risk when a major daytime show values confidence over factual accuracy.
Explain something to you, because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Mm-hmm. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason, because people couldn't get into colleges, because women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women. Yeah. See, this is not Asian women. This is all women. Women were not invited to this party. It was a man's world, and we busted to make sure that this was a person's.
Whoopi defended progressive politics by saying those ideas helped shape her career, while also acknowledging the success she's achieved. After nearly 2 decades on The View, she has become one of the show's highest-profile personalities, earning substantial income over the years. Critics argue that someone with that level of influence is no longer an outsider fighting for a seat at the table. From Maher's perspective, that's part of the contradiction. Continuing to present yourself as the underdog even after reaching the top.
Star Trek has been woke from day one. Woke is a good word. It's been given negative connotations, but woke just means you're awake and aware of everything that's going in the world around you. And that's what he's always been about, and that's what Star Trek has always been about. And so we're just carrying on that legacy.
Yes, and as a Starfleet Academy member, please also allow me to respond. If you've never been asleep, you can't be woke. See, this was a show that was created with the idea that people from other planets would come and we would all find a way to exist together. This was Gene's idea. This was his dream. And when you watch Star Trek, that's what it showed.
Maher described it as what he sees as the clearest example of modern daytime identity politics. His view, familiar shows and cultural icons are often reinterpreted through today's political lens, as though they were always meant to support a particular cause. Critics argue this constant effort to turn entertainment and history into moral or political statements has become exhausting for many viewers, who simply want room for different interpretations instead of every discussion being framed around ideology.
Here's the point. Why are you concentrating on a television show when people are being when people are going hungry, when farmers are losing their farms, kids can't get meals at school? Why are you paying attention to this?
To distract from the Epstein files?
Well, to distract from everything.
Critics argued that the moment sounded less like a question and more like an admission. From Maher's perspective, too much daytime television has become consumed by cultural debates, while larger issues affecting everyday Americans receive far less attention. He has often argued that concerns like the cost of living, struggling families, and economic hardship deserve more focus than endless political controversies. Supporters of Maher say this disconnect is one reason many working-class voters have grown increasingly frustrated with the political and media establishment.
Plenty of liberals also want to control the present. And last month, a scholar named James Sweet caught hell for calling them out for doing just that. He criticized a phenomenon known as presentism, which means judging everyone in the past by the standards of the present. It's the belief that people who lived 100 or 500 or 1,000 years ago really should have known better. A play called I, Joan, currently being presented in London, written by Charlie Josephine, who identifies as non-binary and uses they, them pronouns. And it portrays Joan of Arc as, surprise, non-binary with they, them pronouns. Which, if you think about it, makes even less sense because Joan, being French, spoke a language where every noun is masculine or feminine. Joan says in the play, I'm not a girl, I don't fit that word, as if she's a character on Euphoria. Now, it's true, Joan of Arc did wear pants, but that's what the soldiers wore, and she was soldiering. But in the retelling, Joan would rather die than stop wearing men's clothing. Okay, Joan of Arc wasn't executed by the fashion police. Her trial went on for over 2 months. We have the transcript. And not once did she complain about being misgendered. She had bigger fish to fry, like herself.
Maher argued that the debate has become more about protecting narratives than confronting facts, and critics say even Whoopi's own comments reflected that tension. Supporters believe this disconnect is pushing viewers away from traditional media. What do you think? Is Maher raising valid concerns, or is he missing the bigger picture? Share your thoughts, like the video, and subscribe for more.
Notice what I've noticed. But I find that oftentimes when I'm watching the news, I'm only getting portions, because one of the things that happens, I was listening to you talk about, the kids that had the Hamas flags. It reminded me of when people were saying Antifa is there, and doing that. So bad players show up and make stuff happen. But do you find that the view that we're being shown seems to be meant to guide us into thinking about people one way, when in fact it may be a much bigger conversation?
Oh, of course. I mean, the media is always going to just chase what is interesting to watch. I mean, I used to be able to watch the nightly news, for example. I can't do it. I mean, first of all, it should be called, here's some video we found that's fun to watch. That's not the news.
Yeah.
Like anything that happens on a plane. Like the plane skidded off the runway, so what? It's just nothing.
Yeah.
And it's narrative over truth. I mean, it's not like when I hear people talk on either side of it, I always think they're lying. They're just telling me half of it.
Yeah.
And I never trust them anywhere until I check out the other half.